The Roland XV-5080 is my favorite synthesizer right now. This is a type of synth from the 1990s that just has that very plastic sound to it. The 5080 is a sampler following in the lineage of the JV-1080 and the 2080. The 1080 being a essential synth of the 90s that has been used widely in TV and movie soundtracks. The 5080 is a sampler, meaning that every single sound that you hear is a sample. This isn't an analog synth, this is a digital synth. This was the era of samplers, usually called ROMplers, since the samples were stored on ROM cards. Every sound is a sample, and it's not quite old school sort of bit crush like an 8-bit, 16-bit sound, and it's not like a current Kontakt library. It's that plastic sound that came with the 1990s, early 2000s, that I love so much. There's a color that the 5080 provides that just is really magical. I grew up loving soundtracks for games like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Resident Evil, and just the synth sounds that those soundtracks had. The 5080 comes from the era that those games were sort of made in. I know another Roland synth, the Sound Canvas, was most popularly used by Nobuo Uematsu, making the Final Fantasy soundtracks for Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, and even Final Fantasy 10 had some sounds. Unfortunately, the Sound Canvas, the Sound Canvas plugin that Roland offers doesn't work on current operating systems, and they're discontinuing it. The 5080, however, still provides some similar color, although it's not exactly the same. I still think it has this, it's in the same lane that a synth like the Sound Canvas had, and it definitely still has that sort of 90s sound that I love so much. There's something about the fact that it is aiming to be realistic, and yet it still feels synthetic. It's not quite, I mentioned earlier, like contact libraries. It's not quite on par with, the Spitfire audio, BBC Symphonic Orchestra or whatever. It's not that realistic, and quite frankly, I find sample libraries like that to feel a little soulless. But there's a purpose and a time. There's a time and a purpose for that. But there's something about the color that you get in the sounds from the 5080. Specifically, I think my favorite patch is the XV strings, which just have that synth string sound that I really, really love, and that I heard in so many video games and shows that I grew up playing and watching. And it's a sound that I currently enjoy even today, and it's something that I've been aiming to incorporate more into my music. I'll just sit down and scroll through patches on the 5080 for hours. I will spend hours just scrolling through the patches, and I've just now been sort of really diving into the power of the actual unit. The real power of the unit really comes in all the filters that it comes with, and the ways that you can affect the amplitude, the oscillations, the actual samples being loaded, the attack, the decay, the sustain, the release. Being able to modify these samples, that's really where the power of this unit comes in. And honestly, it's something that I'm only sort of scratching the surface on. But these romplers, as they're usually called, there's so much power to these that I'm really looking forward to just exploring more in the future. I have nothing against presets. I do like to modify something about it before I use it in something that I'm making, but I really don't have anything against presets. And again, presets are a really great starting place, not only just for a sound, but just to figure out how the units work. I really love scrolling through presets just to figure out how all the features in the actual synth, the actual hardware, the actual sort of tools that the hardware is using to kind of make the sounds the way it is, to modify it the way it is. I love using the presets to sort of figure out how the unit works. The 5080 is really just the synth that I've been going to for so much, for synth strings, for just soundscapes, pads, leads. I think just for like synth brass, synth strings, mallets, choirs. I just think it has it does all of that with the color that I really appreciate. I love the sounds of the 90s. I love just a lot of things out of the 90s in general, but this is probably considered an outdated era, but I love the color that it brings. I think it's just a really great synth with a lot of really great sounds I'm looking forward to use moving forward. This isn't quite a product demo. This isn't sort of this isn't a no talking demo. I know I love finding those videos online if I'm looking just to hear what a synth sounds like. I just wanted to talk about what I love about the synth and sort of what the feelings it kind of brings with it and how it makes me feel, and sort of the practical uses that I hear in it, and just where I've heard these sounds in media, whether it's in other music or just in TV shows or movies or video games. And this is definitely bringing me the color that I love in a lot of the soundtracks that I grew up hearing. So, and that I still love to this day. So 58 is a great synth, and that's about it.